Finding the right name for the brand is the hardest thing. I had a product, I had a formulation standard, I had a packaging, I had a philosophy, design led skincare built around women's real life. I could describe every detail of what FLURTH was and what it stood for. But the name, nothing fit. I did what most founders do first. I asked people around me, friends, family, people who knew me and knew what I was building. You get enthusiastic suggestions, polite ones, names that already exist, names that sound like something else, names that are fine but not right. None of them sat with me. So I called a very famous film director because of my background in media production. When you've spent years in the world of storytelling, you know that the people who name things well are the people who understand the feeling behind the thing. Not just what it is, but what it means. He said, "Sit down, let's brainstorm," and he asked me a few questions that reframed everything. He didn't ask me what the brand did. He asked, "What do you want someone to feel when they hear this word for the first time?" Before they knew what it is, before they read a single line of copy, what feeling should the word itself carry? And I said, themselves. I want them to feel like themselves. Not a better version of themselves, not an aspirational self, just themselves. Clean skin, healthy skin that isn't performing for anyone, comfortable in who they are. He asked, "And what do you want this name to become?" Not with what it means today, but what would you want the world to associate with it 10 years down the line? I said, I want FLURTH to be synonymous with being you. When someone says they're taking care of themselves, really taking care, not just covering up, not just following a trend, I want people to say, she's flirting it. I want the brand to stand for exactly that. Being yourself, caring for who you are with the products that are as honest as its intention. He picked up the pen and we started. Days of it, paper after paper, 500 iteration is not an exaggeration. Writing the words, breaking them apart, combining them, fragments, starting over, and then FLURTH. FL stands for flow, UR is your, and TH is the earth. Flow of your earth, being yourself is what FLURTH stands for. I slept on it the way you do when something might be right, but you're afraid to be too excited too quickly. The next morning, I still loved it. That's the test. FLURTH is not a word that existed before we made it, which means we get to define it entirely. And that definition is this: being yourself, caring for who you are with the honesty and intention the real care deserves. That is what this brand is for. Excitedly, I took the name to my best friend who runs an ad agency. I wanted one honest reaction before I committed. He said, "It's brilliant, but don't forget to trademark it." I said, "Why? I don't have the money for a lawyer. I'm exhausted. I still have to figure out production funding and content team. Trademarking is a problem for later." He said, "Nothing doing, protection of the IP is not optional, Neha." And he gave me a reference, an experienced IP lawyer, the kind whose name travels in the right circles because he's genuinely exceptional at what he does. I want to be honest about what was going on through my head for my first meeting with the lawyer. He was explaining the process of trademarking in India, Korea, US, the timelines, the filings, the strategy of protecting the name in every market that mattered. All of it completely correct, all of it exactly what I needed. And the entire time, the only thing running on my mind loop was, what are your fees? And I absolutely cannot afford you. Eventually, I just said it. I said, "Thank you for your time. You sound expensive. I can't pay you anything right now." He didn't flinch. He asked me one question: "What are you trying to build and why?" So I told him the whole thing, the design, that philosophy, the EU ingredient standard, the Korean formulation, what the brand stood for, who is it for, and why it needs to exist. He listened and then he said, "Pay when you can." I said, "I'm sorry, what do you mean?" He said, "Pay when you can means pay when you can. Just cover up the government fees for trademark filings, the rest when you're able to." That was the second time in building FLURTH that I understood what manifestation actually means. Not wishful thinking. The experience of moving forward fully committed, no safety net, and having exactly the right person appear because you were already in motion. The trademark work began not just in India, in Korea, and the US as well. Every market where FLURTH needed to exist, the name was protected. Today, the IP of FLURTH is well protected across every market that matters. And I want to say something about working with Mr. Menda, my IP lawyer, because this isn't a professional acknowledgement, it's a personal one. When I work with him, when he reviews where we are and where we are going, there is quality of encouragement in it. And that I don't take lightly and I don't take it for granted. It feels like having a parent in your corner, someone who sees the whole picture, believes in all of it, and wants you to succeed, not just as a business, but as a person building something that means something. Nothing about FLURTH's identity would be with what it is today without my legal team. You cannot put a value on that. You can only be grateful for it and make sure the work is worthy of it. Here's what I got wrong. For a long time, I treated every act of generosity in this journey as something I had to repay as fast as possible. The birthday money, the lawyer's fees, the goodwill of partners and friends who showed up before any evidence what this work could be. I carried it like a debt, like weight, like something that would only be settled when the brand was successful and enough to clear it all. What I've come to understand is that this is the wrong relationship with generosity. The people who showed up didn't do it as a transaction. They did it because they believe in the person, not the business plan. And treating their support like an outstanding invoice does a disservice to what they actually gave. The right response to generosity is not repayment, it's becoming worthy of it, and then paying it forward to the next person who's actually where you were. I'm still learning that, but I'm learning it. Before I go, if there is someone in your life who showed up for you the way these people showed up for me, tell them. Don't wait until the brand wins an award or the numbers make sense. Tell them now. Next week, the production money, where it came from, what it took, and the moment FLURTH went from something I was building in my head to something I could hold in my hands. If this episode meant something to you, share it with one person who's building something and subscribe so and you don't miss what's coming next. I'm Neha and this is Building FLURTH.